going to show you is all open source. You can go up and go to GitHub and check it all out. All of our stuff, our Ruby SDK, .NET SDK, Java, everything that we do is in public on GitHub. The guys are doing their work, and folks are committing to this stuff live. And in fact, the stuff I'm going to show you here will mostly be all command line. So like Azure, the Azure command line itself is actually a Node app, and you bring it down with NPM. So NPM Azure-CLI brings in the Azure core library, and it uses all sorts of other great, wonderful stuff. So it's nice. I still don't know how to tell that to... Apparently I'm supposed to be here right now. Dismiss that. I'm going to make sure to do everything in the blurriest part, which will be just over here. So all the work will be up in that area. So Azure is this kind of really misunderstood cloud that I very much enjoy working on. And let's just do this because it's easier to show demos and explain like stuff. So let's see, Express, I like my pants. And we'll go into I like my pants, and there's our app. And I'll say Azure. Azure's our command line, like I said. And you know that Microsoft's not screwing around when we put in ASCII art. That's how you know we're not evil anymore. Just if anyone didn't notice there. It was the ASCII art that tipped us right over into the slightly less evil than Google. Azure site create, I like my pants, --git, and I'm just going to put in location. There's all these different Azure data centers. I'll just use let's try North Central. This is in Chicago, North Central US. Oh, I've been clearing the screen so much that I've been just the hands do kind of go like that. Thanks, dude. You want to come and just run the keyboard for me? No, that'd be great because I'm going to screw up again. So I need you to really focus and help me make it good. All right, good. So that's going out, and this is just RESTful calls. These are all just calls out to the Azure service. So if you don't like our command line, you could make these calls yourself. Lots of people do this stuff. Notice that it ran git init for me, and it went and made this YAML thing. And then it added a new remote, Azure. Okay. So here's my stuff. Nothing's changed really, right, except I've got my git down there. And let me look at my git ignore. That's probably acceptable, git ignore. Do you guys know about gitignore.io? Such a great thing. I have a little alias here. I can type gi node, and then it'll go and make a call and just generate a git ignore for me. Or I could say gi node /php, and it'll make is it colon? It'll go and make a node one plus a PHP one and combine them together, and then I can go off and do all sorts of fun stuff. So I've got a good git ignore. Usually what I do is I go gi node, and then I just overwrite the default one because I like the one that is up there more. It goes and gets that. It just does a curl. I'm going to go into the YAML. This is running on IIS, and I'll go and just say logging equals true. And then I'll go into maybe an index in here. And we'll do a little console dot. These are great pants. Okay. And then we'll do a little git add dot and a little git commit -m with as many m's as possible. This is initial something. Okay. Git push Azure master. It'll theoretically show up in Chicago, but now you've mentioned it, which is going to jinx the whole thing. But thanks, Ed, though, for ruining everything. Notice here it says remote : so that's actually happening up there, right? So that's the remote going and running NPM and doing all the stuff to go and take our packages.json and make things happen. But you're following exactly along, and I appreciate that. So blah, 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 Express, blah, 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 NPM is great, blah, 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 package management, blah, 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 tar, gzip. And scene. And scene. Man, Express has a lot of stuff. Then I can go Azure site browse, because if you're going to go and launch something from the launch a browser, you should just do it from the command line, because that's way more badass. So then that is Node running in Azure that's sitting up there and deployed out there with Git. So yay. So now I can go and do something like Azure Site Deployment List, and I can see the deployments that I've made. Right, there's one. Okay. And I could probably also go Azure Site Log Tail and talk to the log streaming service. And then as I hit refresh, I'm getting log streaming. So I'm actually connected to a streaming service. So console.log and all that stuff is coming out automatically to my command line. Is that okay? Is it good? You're not offended or anything? Good. Okay. Did I mention we weren't screwing around anymore? No? Okay. Just throwing that out there. We are evil, though, so watch out, because we're going to get you somehow. At some point, you're going to be doing this, and you'll be like, yeah, git push. Oh, Internet Explorer is installing on my Mac. No, make it stop. Ah. We're going to get you, but I'm not sure how. I'm working on it, though, because they give me so much money to be evil. What else do we do? Let's go into a view. And we'll go and do something Jade. Do something like that, okay? Now, I'm going to go over into here and show you our, this is the really blurry portal. Ooh. Sometimes I like just doing that and just saying, man, Windows needs that. That's all I'm saying. Like, you know, if I go to websites, I've got all my different websites that I've made. I can go in here and make virtual machines, storage database, all the kind of stuff you want, except more organized than Amazon. If I go in here and say create website, I can create one kind of manually, like from the website. This is something I won't use, blah, blah, blah. And make sure that someone could have that. Okay, good, nobody has that. Because sometimes I'll be like, oh, test, ha ha, oh, test, ah, ha ha, oh, test, damn it, test. And like, oh, and still someone has that. I'm like, what the hell? There we go. And I can say publish from source control. This is all HTML5 or anything. We wouldn't make you use Silverlight or something like that. Not that there's anything wrong with that. So here I can go and say, well, my stuff is in GitHub or my stuff is in Dropbox. We actually support deployment directly from Dropbox. So, I mean, if you want to talk evil, that's evil. I mean, that's just messed up. No one should do that at all. But you would not believe how many people love that feature, myself included. It doesn't actually automatic. You know, the funny thing about the deploy to Dropbox, it actually just checks it into Git anyway. So we pull it from Dropbox and we throw it off into Git internally. So you can do external Git repositories, local Git repositories. It's all very lovely. Let's go and look at our, what do we call this thing? I like my pants. We'll get out of full screen because full screen is a mess on this operating system. Sometimes when this is happening, I just like to select it to make sure it's not Silverlight, because sometimes they sneak it up on you. So here's I like my pants. And I can go in here and I can see like data in and data out, and I can set up all the different kinds of things that you would expect. But I can go in here and look at deployments. Okay, so there's the first deployment, eh? Let's go back over here, and I've made my change and pants. Okay, and notice how my master is turned red there, because I'm really awesome with prompts. And if you're colorblind, see how master is turned gray, changing from the previous gray. And now I'll go and say, because I was colorblind once, and it was like we were trying to do test-driven development, and it was like gray, refactor, and it was just a mess for everybody. Git commit something new, git push Azure master. Okay, now watch. So you saw that? No, everyone's looking down, tweeting. That's okay. It was awesome. Ask the guy next to you. So that deployment just happened right there, and it automatically updated into the portal. But then I've still got the oh shit button down here. Oops, down here. Woo! Thanks, Doc. Right there. I never looked at it. It looks like a Mickey Mouse hand. So I can click redeploy and back out if I want to. I can also do that from here. Remember before when I was saying Azure Site Deployment List? The whole thing can be scripted as well. So I could go and auto-script everything and have all sorts of good fun. Additionally, I could change this and pants thing, and I could say something more like, process.env I don't know, color. Just made that up. Okay? And then we'll go and we'll do a little git commit -am. Leave me alone. Azure, actually, git push Azure master. What's that? What's the question? -am works, pretty sure. If it doesn't work, then you can totally laugh in a second. Oh, what is that? Was that bad? Back? What's the other one do? Synchronous? Okay. So that was backgrounded, and that would be not backgrounded. And that would be totally in the front, and that would be backgrounded but then brought forward. What is? I don't know what happened. Once you do that, it's just all regular expressions as far as I'm concerned. I have no idea what I'm doing. I just know how to do this on a Mac, remember? Because I work for Microsoft. I'm totally evil. Thank you, though, for calling me on that. I will remember that one. I've been backgrounding freaking everything, dude. That's a huge problem. Wow, you should look at my aliases. They're a mess, dude. I'm like because I don't know what's going on, But it's all good. That is actually alias dir, long. Okay, what the hell was I doing, dude? Deploying, yeah. Cool, so it worked, actually. That's good. Thank you for putting up with me, sir. Okay, so, and then nothing happens, eh? Right, so it says and, but what did our Jade look like? It says and some environment variable. So I can go out here and I can say Azure site config add color brown. I can't even type anything anymore. You know what I mean? Because Google autocorrects everything that I type, and I just assume it always will. It's so funny. Google always gets it right when I autocomplete, and iPhone always gets it wrong. They should talk to each other. It would be better. So now I can make config changes and stuff from the command line and have it automatically updated, and everything is magical. So hey, I built my entire startup on Express and made one change. It's ready to go live. So now I'm going to go and say Azure Site Scale Mode. I like my pants reserved. There's a bunch of different modes. There's free, and you have 10 free websites. There's shared, which means that you're kind of just chilling with everybody else, kind of the great unwashed all-in-one virtual machine. And then there's reserved, where you get your own VM. And when you have a VM in Azure that's inside of a data center, all of the VMs, all of the other sites that you make in the same data center are in that same VM. By that I mean, I had 12 websites that were all chilling and shared in West US. I switched one to reserved, and then all of those websites jump in to the reserved one. And that's a way to save money. The pricing calculator is kind of cheesy, because once you get past 6 or 7 websites, it starts being like $50. But if you just change all of those to reserve, then you can run 100 websites for $50, all in a small VM. And what I want to point out, these VMs this is a platform on top of these virtual machines. I never actually have to think about the VM. I never have to worry about updating it. I never have to worry about making sure that it's security patched or whatever. Those things happen automatically. So this is sitting on top of the fabric of Azure, right? This is just a website in the cloud that I don't think about. So if I switch that to reserved, mode, there you go. It'll go and make a server farm kind of in the sky for me, and now it's going to go and take I like my pants and move it over there. And then I can go back here and look at scale, which is a scale tab, just to kind of prove it. And you can see now that this website is on one small VM all by itself, doing its own thing with a little less than 2 gigs of RAM. And then I could go and say Azure Site Scale Instances, I like my pants, and then I could say 9 large, which would be more than I think is necessary. Oh, for crying out loud. Maybe 9 is too many. There we go. Okay. Now I'll see if this takes up here. Let's take a second. There we go. So now I'm on 9 times 4, 36 cores and 9 gigs of RAM each. And that just handles. And they all use a shared file system. So the source code this isn't copied, you understand? These virtual machines all talk to one disk that has the Node app on it. So you don't have to worry about things getting out of sync, because they are the same file system. Does that make sense? Okay? So that's kind of cool. So scaling kind of becomes a non-issue in that context. How do I? I'm freaking out. Oh, yeah, Chrome. I've angered Chrome. Yeah, I probably should. That HTML5 probably is not going to happen. I think it's kind of a fad. Cool. Oh, and then another thing I could do potentially. So I've got logging, I've got scale, I've got this. I've got a lot of flexibility. I've got streaming. I could go and say, let's see, make dir Fred. I've got an app up on GitHub. GitHub, Chancelman, node test. So there's a node app in GitHub, okay? And I could say Azure site create, this is Fred, -- GitHub, -- location, West US, -- GitHub, repository, Chancelman / node test. And then that will actually go and put in a site hook into GitHub and then automatically deploy it to Azure whenever the GitHub stuff updates, which is pretty sweet. And in a second here, it's going to prompt me for some GitHub stuff. And we're working on making it with SSH inserts and stuff like that. So it will, right now I think it's going to prompt me for a password, which I have to remember. How do I log in? Cross my fingers. And that will go and deploy that. So that's cool. So while that's happening, now this is all running on IIS node, which is IIS, right? So if you are offended by running it on Windows and you can't accept that in your heart of hearts, that's cool. There's a hook got created, by the way. So now I can go back over here into GitHub and click on settings and then go into service hooks. And then you can see there's the webhook URL. Somewhere, there it is. Okay? So you hate Windows, but Azure might be cheap and you want to use it. You can go in here and make a new virtual machine, and then you could say, oh, too much Windows, it sucks. But then you could come down here, this Affleck, or what is the little guy, the little lizard? I'm not sure what that guy's name is. But I always say, what's the British accent of what is the little commercial with the gecko? Geico. Yeah, Geeko. I don't think it's Geeko. Pretty sure it's Geico. Okay. Ed says it's Geeko, everyone. So I could do that, but these maybe aren't what I want, because then I'd have to go and set it up and put Node on it and do all that kind of stuff, and that could take, 20 minutes, maybe 21 minutes. Those are kind of fresh images that you could use. What you can actually do is you can go up to our open depot, kind of think of it as NPM for community VMs. And then I could go and say, well, I really want a Node VM that's pre-configured and hardened, and I want it to have Cassandra on it, or I want it to have something else. So here's one from Bitnami. I want to use the Bitnami one, say. So then I can go and look at this. Okay, that's the no version. Maybe it's an old version of Node, but it's a good version of Ubuntu. And I go in here and click deployment script, and then say, here is the actual command line for what I want to do to make that virtual machine. So then I can come out to the command line here and type in something like this. And then that DNS prefix, that'll just be the name of whatever the virtual machine is going to be. Pants VM is awesome. You never know, because there could be another Pants VM, and then the whole thing is going to be a mess. So then it goes and it gets that community image, that kind of like automatically prepared image, and then takes it, copies it into my storage account, attaches the disk, fires up the VM, and then deletes the resulting image. And there you go. So it's copying the blob over right now. Okay? And then I went and made one ahead of time, because that'll take, 5 or 10 minutes. It's like 30 gigs, so it'll take some time. So codesmell.net is one of my instances. It's one of the 40 domains that I have bought, each one representing not only a really great startup that I never started, but also my own personal failure. So there's a Linux VM in the sky that's just running very fine, and we have VMs now that can be pretty big. So that CodeSmell one is here, and I can go to configure. So we can go from extra small, which is shared, all the way up to 8 cores and 56 gigs of RAM. So we can pretty much handle anything that you can take. And the pricing is pretty much the same as everybody else. I mean, it's going to continue to get cheaper and cheaper. So you'll notice also that there's nothing in the UI here that is calling out what's Node or what's .NET or what's PHP or what's Ruby or what's Linux, because we don't ultimately care. So the last thing that I'll show you is here, just to make the point. I've got something, oh, I'm actually remoted in. I've got something here called all-in-one. There we go. And this is kind of a funny little thing. Azure site create -- git everything in one location, West US. This is Node, PHP, .NET, classic ASP just because I can, and a web API all running in the exact same IIS instance. Because why the heck not, eh? Ultimately, it doesn't care. If you take a look at Edge.js, anyone seen Edge.js? Edge.js lets you actually take F# or C# or Python or whatever and call it from Node. So if you have some existing business logic or some really computationally intensive stuff and you were thinking about forking off into some kind of a C process, maybe you would want to go and do that with something like Edge, where you take that DLL, that C# DLL, call it from Node, do the computational stuff. We'll handle the marshalling of that stuff between Node and .NET, and then you can move back. Oh, crap. Notice that it's putting errors. Anytime I do something wrong, it'll actually put the error in a file there, so I can go and figure that out. Let me try a different location here. I may have already done this before. The IIS Node stuff, you know, we've been working with the Node team to make it really, really fast. So it's certainly comparable, and in some ways can do really crazy stuff like calling .NET from Node, which is pretty cool. And we have a lot of fun with it. And again, everything that we're doing is open source, which makes us very happy. And people say, well, like, why are you guys running? Why are you like allowing this? Why would Microsoft allow this? You know, anyone want to guess, right? Why are you letting them run Linux? Well, what do you think they're running it on? Running it on Windows. So ultimately, everyone wins. We are trying to make a really good experience for everybody. And if we can do crazy stuff, no one has prevented us from doing it. No bosses have asked us, like, why are you doing that? That's too weird. We can't do that. Now, I think I can go like this now, can't I? Because my buddy helped me out. Is that correct? Am I good? That's assuming it works, right? Which is very presumptuous of me. Also assuming I typed the password in correctly. We're working on making things work kind of a more comfortable flow. But you can do this. I think there's actually a package control thing for Sublime to jump out into Azure. Oh, and also it's worth pointing out, no one's ever said this publicly before, but it turns out that Skype, you know those guys? They're actually one of our biggest Node customers, running literally thousands of nodes to manage Skype's experience on Azure. So then this here should be, here you go. This is PHP, Node, Razor, ASP.NET, classic ASP, all in the same world in Azure. So I encourage you to check this stuff out. We are measurably less evil than we were last year. And hey, give us some pull requests. Thank you very much.